Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trek Canon. Let me sit up a bit because this is going to be a good one. So, what we're going to be talking about today is IDIC, IDIC, Infinite Diversity and Infinite Combinations. First, let me get this out the way. There can be no such thing as a woke show. There can be no such thing as a woke corporation. There can be no such thing as a woke nation. All right. But what there can be is the knowledge and awareness of racial injustice in places that exhibit these things. All right. So, sundown towns, people can be woke about them. We can be aware about them. Systematic racism, you can be woke about that. You can be aware of that particular racial injustice. All right. But a show, movie, corporation, no, it doesn't work that way. But if for some reason it did, because there's a lot of people, a lot of influencers, a lot of media people who are always misusing woke. But if it was one show that did, all right, if it was one show that fell under that category, it would be Star Trek. All right. Now there would be people who will say, like people from, this influencer. I don't want to name people, but y'all know them. Y'all know them. But it'd be people who will say, "Well, Trek went woke." All right, just because they have a black female captain. All right, burn them. Or, just because um, they have LGBTQ representation on the show. So let's talk a little bit about IDIC, what it means, and where it comes from in the Star Trek universe. Now, first of all, this is going to be a bootleg video, just my bootleg video. We're just having a conversation, man. It's just us and the Canon Knights and people who are pre-Canon Knights. Pre-Canon Knights, welcome. Canon Knights, thank you for the support as always. But let's talk about IDIC, Infinite Diversity and Infinite Combinations in Star Trek. Star Trek premiered back in 66, all right? And immediately on the pilot, you had a female first officer, unheard of. All right. You had an alien, all right, working alongside humans. But that was pretty much it. Okay. They decided, hey man, Roddenberry, man, this is too cerebral, man. We need you to come up with some better stuff, man. We'll order a new season, we'll order a second pilot. Hook us up. Hook us up. And let me tell you what Roddenberry did. Roddenberry eventually ended up getting a black communications officer that sat on a bridge and had parts in the main storyline. All right. You had a Russian during the time of the Cold War. You had a Japanese person during the time of the internment camps. You had an Scotsman as the chief engineer and third ranking person on the ship. Okay. You had special guest stars like Daystrom and different admirals and everything like that that outranked your main character, which was a white dude from Ohio, Iowa, wherever. All right. And I'm sorry, yeah, from Iowa, Ohio. Anyway, one of those places. And they were black. You had women admirals. I like all through Star Trek, black female captains. Remember the episode where they were trying to what was it called? Conspiracy, I think it was, where those little parasites was getting in people's necks and stuff like that. One of the captains that beamed down, one of the superstars, man, one of the youngest female captains ever made, besides Kirk, was a black female person with an African accent. You know what I mean? They spoke Swahili in Star Trek when which is an African dialect. Which when Uhura met that shapeshifter, she didn't know it was a shapeshifter, but she met that black crewman in that one in a what was isn't it a corridor, man, and they start speaking Swahili, and she was like, I didn't know it was another. That's just an original series. We go to the next generation, man. You got a blind black dude. He ends up being one of the smartest people on the ship besides Data. All right, Geordie LaForge. Okay, you got a female chief medical officer. Right, you got a Cleon, man, somebody who you was at war with, now serving and raised by humans. Come on, a little boy, genius. Right, you got an android, AI. Yeah, people don't consider them life form, but you should if you're a Trekkie. All right. So we working along artificial life forms, man, and still treating them with dignity, respect, and honor. All right. They even had so many cases to prove, man, humanity. You got a woman in the bar who is the wisest person besides Q that you will ever meet in Star Trek. Guinan, played by Whoopi Goldberg. You know what I mean? Like one of the most badass characters in Star Trek. So even when you get into Voyager, you got a Native American first officer, female captain, right? You like Cleon Engineer, a black Vulcan. You know what I mean? A black Vulcan. Think about that for a second. A black Vulcan. That was kind of unheard of back in the time. Don't even switch over to Deep Space Nine where you get your first black captain married to a black woman with a black son in a functional household who respected his African culture and his New Orleans upbringing. Like, who could cook and who ended up being one of the most badass, if not the most badass captain in all of Star Trek canon. So when people, Dax, when people talk about LGBTQ, Dax, Dax was in relationships with men and women, aliens. It didn't matter to Dax. The personality did. Yeah, yeah, sure did. Dax had a whole relationship with his ex-wife. Jadzia Dax did, right? So when you talk about Star Trek being woke, when you talk about um, all of this woke stuff and how bad woke is and all of this stuff, man, Star Trek has always epitomized infinite diversity and infinite combinations. A lot of people will think that Star Trek's mission is to boldly go where no man has gone before or where no one has gone before. Yeah, or the prime directive when thinking about Star Trek. No, no, no. Star Trek is so much more than just those important principles. Underneath it all, Star Trek has always been and will always be about infinite diversity in infinite combinations, teaching us through the infinite combinations of the infinite diversities of culture and ideas and ideologies and everything, even with a mix of the infinity of all of that, right? We are still able to create a utopia. As a matter of fact, it was a better utopia because of it. So I want people to think about this when they're talking about episodes of Star Trek and not being familiar with the true canon and the true purpose and the true ideals of Star Trek. When they bad mouthing, oh well, you know, they had a black president of the Federation and yeah, it was just a political stunt. No, 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 no. Star Trek has always wanted to show us our best, show us at our best, showing us trying to reach our best. And if some people call that woke, even incorrectly, hell, then I guess that's what I'm gonna have to be. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And as always, peace, recycle, and say the whales. You guys be cool.